The moment Lauren said, "Some of us actually work for a living," the entire brunch table went quiet. She was looking directly at Samantha, her younger sister, with that familiar mix of pity and superiority. "I mean, no offense, Sam, but consulting from your apartment in sweatpants isn't exactly the same as having a real career." Everyone laughed uncomfortably. Samantha just smiled, took a sip of her mimosa, and said nothing. Because in exactly 14 hours, Lauren would walk into her Monday morning all-hands meeting and discover that her company had just been acquired by Samantha's firm, which meant the sister who didn't actually work was now technically Lauren's boss. And that smug smile Lauren was wearing, it was about to become very, very expensive. Samantha Chen had learned something crucial in business school. The people who talk the most about how hard they work are usually compensating for something. Real power doesn't need to announce itself. It just is. And tomorrow morning, when Lauren discovered who'd just bought her startup for $50 million, she was going to learn that lesson the hard way. Sometimes revenge isn't about confrontation. It's about showing up to the office with a signed acquisition agreement and watching someone's entire worldview collapse in real time. Before we get into this story, I need you to hit that subscribe button right now. Because this channel is all about quiet winners, loud losers, and the beautiful moment when the truth reveals itself. If you love watching people who underestimate others get the reality check of their lives, you need to be here for every single upload. Now let's talk about the most satisfying Monday morning meeting in corporate history. The brunch was at the Greenhouse, an upscale restaurant in Westchester that their mother, Patricia, had chosen because it photographed well for her Instagram. The extended Chen family gathered around a large table on the patio. Patricia and Thomas, the parents, Lauren and her husband Marcus, Samantha, alone as usual, Uncle Richard and Aunt Susan, cousins Jennifer and David, all of them dressed in their Sunday best, performing the ritual of successful family bonding. Lauren had arrived 15 minutes late, making an entrance in a designer pantsuit, her hair blown out to perfection, talking loudly on her phone about Q3 projections and stakeholder meetings, before finally sitting down. Sorry, she said, not sounding sorry at all. Crazy morning. You know how it is when you're in leadership. The work never stops. She glanced at Samantha, who was wearing jeans and a simple sweater. Well, some of you know. Samantha had learned to ignore these digs. She'd been enduring them for 5 years, ever since she'd left her corporate job at Goldman Sachs and started her own venture. Her family didn't understand what she did, and she'd stopped trying to explain. It was easier to let them think she was struggling, failing, barely getting by. The alternative, telling them the truth, would have made family gatherings unbearable in a different way. So Sam, Uncle Richard said, spreading butter on his croissant. Still doing the freelance thing? Any luck finding a real position? I'm good where I am, Samantha replied simply. Content with freelancing? Aunt Susan asked, her voice dripping with concern. Honey, don't you want stability? Benefits? A 401k? I have all of that, Samantha said, but no one was really listening. Lauren jumped in, because she always did. I think what everyone's trying to say, Sam, is that you're 31 now. Most people your age are established in their careers. They have titles, teams, real responsibilities. You're still working from home doing... What exactly? Business consulting? That's so vague. It pays the bills, Samantha said mildly. Does it, though? Lauren pressed. Because consulting gigs are notoriously unstable. 1 month you're busy, the next you're scrambling for clients. Meanwhile, I just got promoted to VP of Marketing at TechVibe. You know, the startup that just hit unicorn status? We're valued at over $50 million now. She said it casually, but everyone at the table knew she'd been waiting to drop that news. Patricia gasped appropriately. Lauren, that's wonderful. VP at 36. Thomas, did you hear that? Thomas nodded, proud. That's my girl. Always knew you'd make it big. What does a VP of marketing do exactly? Cousin Jennifer asked, giving Lauren the stage she clearly wanted. Oh, everything. Lauren said, warming to the topic. Brand strategy, market positioning, team management. I oversee a department of 12 people. We just launched a major campaign that increased user acquisition by 40%. The board specifically recognized my contribution. Honestly, it's intense. I work 60-hour weeks easily. But that's what it takes to succeed at this level. She turned to Samantha with false sympathy. That's why I worry about you, Sam. You're so smart. You have an MBA from Stanford, but you're wasting it doing freelance work from your apartment. You could be building something real, having an actual impact, but instead you're just coasting. Don't you want more for yourself? The table was silent, everyone looking at Samantha, waiting for her response. She could have said something, could have told them that she wasn't doing freelance consulting, that she was a founding partner at a venture capital firm, that her firm managed $200 million in assets and had just closed the biggest acquisition of her career. But she didn't. Because business was business, and family was family, and mixing the two had never ended well. I'm happy, Samantha said simply. That's what matters. Lauren laughed, not unkindly, but definitely condescendingly. Happiness is great, but let's be real. Some of us actually work. Some of us have real careers with real responsibilities. Some of us show up to an office every day, manage teams, drive results, contribute to something bigger than ourselves. And some of us. She gestured vaguely at Samantha. Wear sweatpants and call it a business. Marcus, Lauren's husband, jumped in to support his wife. Lauren's being modest. She's basically keeping that company afloat. They'd fall apart without her. The CEO told her personally that she's irreplaceable. That's wonderful, Samantha said genuinely. You should be proud of what you've built. I am, Lauren said. I just wish you'd build something too instead of settling for mediocrity. The word hung in the air like a slap. Mediocrity. Samantha's mother tried to smooth things over. Lauren, that's a bit harsh. Samantha is doing fine. She's happy, she's healthy, she's 31 and has nothing to show for it, Lauren interrupted. Mom, I love Sam, but someone needs to tell her the truth. She had so much potential, and she's wasting it. MBA from Stanford, experience at Goldman Sachs, and now she's doing undefined consulting work that she can't even explain at family brunches. Samantha took another sip of her mimosa, her face completely neutral. Inside, she was calculating. The TechVibe acquisition had closed Friday at 5 p.m. The announcement would go out Monday morning at 9 a.m. Lauren would find out in approximately 23 hours that her irreplaceable position was now owned by Chen Capital Partners, and that the managing partner she'd report to was the sister she'd just called mediocre. You know what? Samantha said, setting down her glass. You're absolutely right, Lauren. Some of us do actually work, and some of us talk about working. There's a difference. The table went silent. Lauren's smile faltered. Excuse me? Nothing, Samantha said sweetly. Just agreeing with you. Hard work is important, really important. You should remember that. There was something in her tone that made Lauren's eyes narrow, but before she could respond, the waiter arrived with their entrees, and the moment passed. The rest of brunch continued with forced pleasantness, Lauren dominating the conversation with stories about TechVibe's success, her team's accomplishments, her indispensable role in the company's growth. Samantha ate her eggs Benedict and listened, noting every detail. We just signed a massive client, Lauren was saying, like, game-changing massive. The CEO said this is what's going to take us to the next level. And it was my strategy that landed them. My pitch, my vision, my execution. That's what leadership looks like. She glanced at Samantha. That's what showing up looks like. Not hiding in your apartment sending emails. Samantha's phone buzzed. A text from her business partner, James. All set for tomorrow. Lauren going to be there. She typed back, Oh, she'll be there. Front row seat. She excused herself to take a call, stepping away from the table. It was her other partner, Maya, Sam, I know you said keep it professional tomorrow, but are you sure you don't want me to lead the announcement, given the family situation? No, Samantha said firmly. I'm doing it. She needs to hear it from me. Okay, boss. But for the record, I can't wait to see her face. Samantha smiled. Neither can I. When she returned to the table, Lauren was still holding court, explaining to Uncle Richard why TechVibe was going to be the next big IPO, why her stock options were going to make her a millionaire, why this was just the beginning of her trajectory. Some people peak early, Lauren said, and everyone knew she was talking about Samantha. They do well in school, get good jobs, and then just stop. They don't push themselves, don't take risks, don't build anything lasting. And that's fine, I guess. Not everyone is meant for greatness. But it's sad to watch someone with potential choose comfort over achievement. Samantha caught her mother's eye. Patricia looked uncomfortable, clearly wanting to defend Samantha, but not wanting to contradict Lauren's success. It was a familiar dynamic. Lauren the golden child, Samantha the disappointment. It had been that way since they were kids, and it had only gotten worse as they'd gotten older. As brunch wound down, Lauren pulled Samantha aside while everyone else was saying their goodbyes. Look, I know I came on a bit strong today, but I'm just worried about you. You're my little sister. I want to see you succeed. I appreciate that, Samantha said. Do you, though? Because from where I'm standing, you're barely surviving. Freelance work, no office, no team, no trajectory. That's not a career, Sam. That's a hobby. Is that what you think I do? Samantha asked. A hobby? What else would you call it? You work from home doing consulting. You don't manage anyone. You don't have a boss giving you feedback or peers pushing you to improve. You're just floating. And at some point, that's going to catch up with you. Samantha nodded slowly. You might be right. I know I'm right, Lauren said. And I'm saying this because I care. Come work for me. I could probably find you something at TechVibe. Maybe a coordinator position or something entry-level. It wouldn't pay great, but it would get your foot in the door, give you some structure. The offer was so condescending, so perfectly Lauren, that Samantha almost laughed. Almost. That's generous, she said instead. But I'm good where I am. Lauren sighed. Suit yourself. But don't come crying to me when the consulting gigs dry up and you can't pay your rent. Some of us built safety nets. Some of us took the safe path. And some of us took risks, Samantha said quietly. You just don't know it yet. That night, Samantha sat in her apartment, the one Lauren thought was sad and small, and reviewed the acquisition documents one more time. TechVibe had been a target for months. Good product, solid user base, but terrible management and worse financials. They were burning through cash, making poor strategic decisions, and headed for collapse within a year. Her firm had swooped in with an acquisition offer that saved the company and gave Chen Capital Partners majority control. Tomorrow morning, the announcement would go out. New ownership, new board, new direction. And Lauren, the irreplaceable VP of marketing, would discover that her little sister, the one who supposedly wore sweatpants and didn't work, now owned the company she'd been bragging about all brunch. Samantha fell asleep with a smile on her face, dreaming of Monday morning. If you've ever had someone condescend to you about your career while having no idea what you actually do, drop the word irony in the comments. And listen, what's about to happen Monday morning is so satisfying you'll want to watch it twice. If you haven't subscribed yet, do it right now because you don't want to miss a single moment of this. Let's get into the most epic Monday morning in office history. Monday morning, 8:45 a.m. Lauren walked into TechVibe's office in Soho, carrying her usual Starbucks latte and radiating her usual confidence. She was wearing a power suit, her hair perfect, her makeup flawless. This was her domain, her kingdom, the place where she was respected, valued, irreplaceable. She greeted the receptionist, checked her email on her phone, and headed toward her corner office. But something was off. People were whispering, clustered in small groups, phones out, looking worried. Her assistant, Jessica, rushed over. "Lauren, thank God. Have you checked your email?" "Not yet. Why? What's going on?" "There's an emergency all-hands meeting in 10 minutes. Everyone's required to attend. And Lauren." Jessica lowered her voice. "I'm hearing rumors about an acquisition." Lauren's stomach dropped. "What? That's impossible. I would have known. The CEO would have told me. I'm on the executive team. Apparently it happened over the weekend. Everything was kept super quiet. But the email says all staff must attend, no exceptions. And that major company announcements will be made." Lauren pulled out her phone with shaking hands. Sure enough, there was an email from the CEO, sent at 7 a.m. "Mandatory all-hands meeting, 9 a.m., conference room A, major company updates, attendance required." She hurried to her office, her mind racing. An acquisition? How was that possible? She'd been in all the board meetings, all the strategic planning sessions. Nobody had mentioned selling the company. Unless it had happened so fast there was no time to loop in the executive team. That sometimes happened with distressed companies, but TechVibe wasn't distressed. They'd just had their best quarter. Unless the numbers she'd been seeing weren't the real numbers. At 8:58 a.m., Lauren joined the crowd filing into conference room A. The entire company was there, nearly 80 people, all looking nervous and confused. The CEO, Brian Mitchell, stood at the front of the room looking exhausted and defeated. Next to him were 3 people Lauren didn't recognize. 2 men and a woman, all in expensive suits, all looking like they owned the place. Because, Lauren would soon learn, they did. Brian cleared his throat. "Thank you all for coming. I know this is sudden, and I apologize for the lack of notice, but I have important news. As of Friday at 5 p.m., TechVibe has been acquired by Chen Capital Partners, a venture capital and private equity firm. This acquisition ensures the company's future, provides the capital we need to grow, and brings in experienced investors who will help us scale." The room erupted in whispers. Lauren felt her world tilt. Acquired? They'd been acquired and nobody told her? She was supposed to be irreplaceable. How could this happen without her input? "I want to introduce you to the partners from Chen Capital who will be overseeing the transition," Brian continued. "This is James Park, Chief Investment Officer, Maya Rodriguez, Head of Operations, and Samantha Chen, Managing Partner and Primary Decision-Maker for this acquisition." The conference room door opened, and Samantha walked in, Lauren's sister. Samantha, in a charcoal gray suit that probably cost $300, her hair styled professionally, carrying a leather portfolio, looking every inch the powerful executive. She walked to the front of the room with the confidence of someone who owned everything in it. Because she did. She owned the company, the building, the furniture, the employees, all of it. Lauren's mouth fell open. This wasn't possible. This was Samantha. Sweatpants Samantha. Freelance Samantha. Mediocre Samantha. Except she wasn't any of those things. She was managing partner Samantha. Owner Samantha. Boss Samantha. And Lauren had spent yesterday calling her a failure. "Good morning, everyone," Samantha said, her voice clear and professional. "I'm Samantha Chen from Chen Capital Partners. My firm specializes in acquiring high-potential companies that need strategic redirection and capital infusion. We've been watching TechVibe for several months, and we believe you have incredible potential." She pulled up a presentation on the screen. "However, you also have significant challenges. Cash flow issues, unsustainable burn rate, unclear market positioning, and leadership gaps that have prevented you from reaching your potential. Our acquisition addresses these problems. We're injecting $15 million in immediate capital, restructuring your operations, and bringing in experienced advisors to help you scale properly." Lauren couldn't breathe, couldn't process what she was seeing. Her little sister, the one who didn't actually work, was standing at the front of the room explaining that she'd just bought the company Lauren had been bragging about 24 hours ago. The irony was so thick you could choke on it. "I want to be clear about our vision," Samantha continued. "We're not here to destroy what you've built. We're here to save it. Without this acquisition, TechVibe would have run out of money in approximately 8 months. You wouldn't have made it to next summer." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Brian looked at the floor, confirming the truth. "But with proper management, capital allocation, and strategic focus, you can become what you were meant to be: a sustainable, profitable, industry-leading company. That's what we do at Chen Capital. We find diamonds in the rough and polish them." She clicked to the next slide. "Over the next 2 weeks, my partners and I will be conducting individual meetings with all department heads and key personnel. We'll be evaluating operations, identifying inefficiencies, and making decisions about the team going forward." Lauren felt sick. Evaluating. Decisions about the team. That was corporate speak for layoffs, for restructuring, for getting rid of people who weren't performing. And she, the person who'd been calling herself irreplaceable yesterday, was about to be evaluated by her sister. "I know change is scary," Samantha said, her voice softening slightly. "But I promise you, we're good at this. We've done this 12 times before. And companies that partner with Chen Capital don't just survive, they thrive. You're in good hands." She looked around the room, her eyes landing briefly on Lauren. "Any questions?" Silence. Everyone was too shocked to speak. James Park stepped forward. "We'll send out a schedule for individual meetings today. Please be prepared to discuss your role, your achievements, and your vision for your department's future. Thank you all for your time and your commitment to TechVibe. This is the beginning of something great." The meeting ended. People filed out slowly, talking in hushed voices, already wondering who would survive the cuts. Lauren sat frozen in her chair, unable to move. She watched Samantha gathering her materials, talking quietly with her partners, looking completely in control. This was impossible. This had to be a nightmare. "Lauren." She looked up. Samantha was standing next to her chair, her expression professionally neutral. "Can I see you in the conference room? Privately." Lauren nodded mutely and followed her sister back into the now empty room. Samantha closed the door, and for a moment, they just stared at each other. Two sisters. One who'd spent years being condescending. One who'd spent years being underestimated. And now the power dynamic had shifted so dramatically that the ground beneath them had cracked. "You bought my company," Lauren whispered. "I bought a company," Samantha corrected. "It happens to be the one you work for. But I didn't do it because of you. I did it because it was a good investment. You let me think. Yesterday at brunch, you let me say all those things about you not working, about being mediocre, about wasting your potential. You knew you were buying TechVibe, and you just sat there and let me humiliate myself." "Yes," Samantha said simply, "because you needed to hear yourself. You needed to understand what you sound like when you talk about people's careers, like you're the arbiter of success." Lauren's face flushed. "I was trying to help you." "No, you were trying to feel superior. There's a difference." Samantha sat down, crossed her legs, looked at Lauren with an expression that was neither angry nor triumphant, just tired. "Lauren, do you have any idea what I actually do? What Chen Capital is?" "Obviously, it's some kind of investment firm. We're a $200 million venture capital and private equity fund. We invest in startups, help them grow, and either take them public or acquire them outright. I co-founded the firm 5 years ago with James and Maya. We've completed 12 acquisitions, including TechVibe. Our portfolio companies employ over 200 people and generate $500 million in annual revenue." The numbers hit Lauren like physical blows. $200 million, 12 acquisitions. 2, yours are employees. This wasn't consulting. This was an empire. My personal net worth is approximately $47 million, Samantha continued. I work from home because I choose to, not because I have to. I don't have a boss because I am the boss of multiple companies, including, as of Friday, yours. Lauren couldn't speak, couldn't process. $47 million. Samantha, her little sister who she'd been pitying for years, was worth $47 million. Why didn't you tell me? Lauren finally asked. Why did you let me think you were struggling? Because I wasn't struggling. You assumed I was struggling because my success doesn't look like yours. I don't have a fancy title at someone else's company. I don't brag at family brunches. I don't need external validation. I just build things, invest things, and grow things. Quietly. Samantha leaned forward. But more importantly, I didn't tell you, because every time I tried to talk about my work, you talked over me. Every time I tried to share an achievement, you one-upped me. Every time I tried to exist in this family as someone with value, you made sure everyone knew you were more valuable. So I stopped trying. I let you think whatever you wanted, and I focused on building something real. I had no idea, Lauren whispered. I know. That's the problem. You had no idea because you never asked. You just assumed. And you made decisions about my life, my success, my worth based on those assumptions. Do you know how that feels? To be constantly judged by someone who has no idea what you actually do? Lauren looked down at her hands. I'm sorry. Are you? Because 24 hours ago, you told me I was mediocre. You said I was wasting my potential. You offered me an entry-level job at the company I now own. Do you understand how condescending that was? How insulting? I thought I was helping. You thought you were better. There's a difference. The silence stretched between them, heavy with years of misunderstanding and judgment. Finally, Lauren asked the question she was terrified to hear the answer to. Am I fired? Samantha considered this. That depends. On what? On whether you can work for someone you spent years calling a failure. On whether you can take direction from someone you don't respect. On whether you can handle the fact that your little sister, the disappointing one, is now your boss. Lauren felt tears burning her eyes. I do respect you, now. After seeing all this. Now, Samantha repeated. After you were forced to see it. But respect that only comes after proof isn't really respect. It's just recalibrated condescension. She pulled out a folder, slid it across the table. This is your performance review, the real one, based on actual data from the last year, not the inflated version Brian gave you. Lauren opened it with shaking hands. The numbers inside were brutal. User acquisition down 12%, despite increased spending. Campaign ROI negative. Team morale at all-time low with 3 resignations in 6 months. Multiple missed deadlines and budget overruns. You're not irreplaceable, Samantha said quietly. You're barely adequate. The only reason you haven't been fired is because Brian's too conflict avoidant to pull the trigger. But we're not. Lauren looked up, tears spilling over. So I am fired. I'm giving you a choice, Samantha said. You can leave with a generous severance package, 3 months' salary plus benefits, and a neutral reference. Or you can stay, work your ass off, report directly to Maya, and prove that you actually deserve the title you've been bragging about. But if you stay, the arrogance stops, the condescension stops, the family performance stops. You come to work, do the job, and earn your place like everyone else. What would you do? Lauren asked. If you were me? Samantha smiled, sad and knowing. I'd stay, because running away is easy, and you've had easy your whole life. Maybe it's time to try hard. She stood, gathered her materials. Think about it. Let Maya know by Wednesday. In the meantime, you're on a performance improvement plan. Weekly check-ins, measurable goals, real accountability. Welcome to how the rest of us work, Lauren. It's not as glamorous as you made it sound at brunch. She walked to the door, paused, looked back. For what it's worth, I do hope you stay. Not because I want to torture you, but because I think underneath all the performance and insecurity, you might actually be good at this. You've just never had to be before. Then she was gone, leaving Lauren alone in the conference room with her shattered ego and her impossible choice. Stay and work for the sister she'd humiliated, or leave and admit defeat. Either way, the woman who'd called Samantha mediocre had just learned the most expensive lesson of her life. Over the next few weeks, TechVibe transformed under Chen Capital's ownership. Departments were restructured, inefficiencies were eliminated. 3 executives, including the CFO who'd been cooking the books, were let go. And Lauren? Lauren stayed. She worked harder than she'd ever worked in her life. She reported to Maya, who was brilliant and demanding, and didn't care about Lauren's ego. She implemented new strategies, fixed her team's problems, and slowly, painfully, became the executive she'd been pretending to be. Samantha watched from a distance, attending board meetings, reviewing reports, making decisions, but never micromanaging. She treated Lauren exactly like she treated every other employee, with professional courtesy and clear expectations. No special treatment, no revenge, just business. At family dinners, things were awkward at first. Lauren had to tell their parents the truth about Samantha's career. Patricia and Thomas were shocked, then embarrassed that they'd been so dismissive. Uncle Richard apologized for calling Samantha's work a hobby. Aunt Susan stopped asking when she'd get a real job. And Lauren? Lauren stopped bragging, stopped performing, started actually listening when people talked about their lives. Because she'd learned something valuable. The people who talk the most about success are usually the ones who have the least of it. Real success doesn't need a microphone. It just needs a meeting room and a signed acquisition agreement. 6 months later, TechVibe had turned profitable. User growth was up 40%. Employee retention had improved dramatically. And Lauren had been promoted to Chief Marketing Officer, a title she'd actually earned this time. At the board meeting where the promotion was announced, Samantha pulled Lauren aside. "Congratulations, you deserve this." "Thank you," Lauren said. "And thank you for not firing me. I would have deserved that too." "Maybe," Samantha agreed. "But I didn't buy this company to punish you. I bought it to fix it. You were just a bonus lesson in humility." They both smiled, and for the first time in years, it felt genuine. "Can I ask you something?" Lauren said. "Sure." "Why do you still work from home? You could have a corner office, an assistant, all the trappings. Why stay invisible?" Samantha thought about it. "Because the trappings aren't the point. The work is the point. And I do better work in sweatpants than I ever did in a suit trying to impress people who don't matter." Lauren nodded slowly, understanding finally clicking into place. "I think I get it now." "Good," Samantha said. "Because the next acquisition is bigger, and I'm going to need a strong marketing team. Think you're up for it?" "With the sister who doesn't actually work?" Lauren asked, and this time, it was a joke they could both share. "Yeah," Samantha said, grinning. "With that sister. Sometimes the best revenge isn't destroying someone. It's giving them the chance to become someone better, and watching them take it. If this story hit you in the feels, drop a comment below about a time someone underestimated you professionally. And if you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? This channel is full of stories about quiet winners and the beautiful moment when truth reveals itself. Hit that subscribe button and join us for the next incredible story. Because success doesn't always announce itself. Sometimes it just shows up to Monday morning meetings and changes everything.